Welcome to Green Chalice Gathering number 3 for 2026. We are very grateful that you all are here. And this evening, we're highlighting the good work of 12 ministry sites across our denomination and 12 Justice and Creation Fellows who have been a part of those ministry sites, doing good work and serving their communities and creation as well as their neighbors. And before we hear stories, we'll be hearing from 5 different fellows. And then if you're interested in the other 8 or so, or I guess 7, I'm doing the math now, fellows presentations, you can go on our website, greenchalice.org, and you'll be able to see those as well as the ones that you're seeing tonight. Again, I'm Scott Hardinieri. Carol Devine is a co-minister with me as we serve Green Chalice under Disciples Home Missions with the Christian Church Disciples of Christ. I'm very grateful to serve in that way. As we begin, I'll invite us to do 4 things. One is just share your name. We'll just unmute and share your name. If you're driving, yeah, I guess whatever's convenient for you, don't chat with us if you're driving. But if you can share your name and your ministry location or just where you are in the world and how you're connected to Green Chalice and then a grief and gratitude. And so we're combining the introduction and a grief and gratitude prayer as our opening time. So your name, where are you in the world, and one thing that you're grateful for, and one thing that you're grieving right now. And we recognize that as we come together, we are holding space for a world that is broken, or maybe something is going on in our own bodies, or in our neighborhood, or in our community where there's suffering. And we want to honor that. And also at the very same time, as people of faith, we can hold space for joy and delight even while we recognize their suffering. And that's a human condition that we're able to hold both of those things. And so we're making space tonight, like we do at most of our meetings together, for both that prayer of examine, grief and gratitude, rose and thorns kind of situation. So who wants to go first?
I can go first. My name is Grace, and I go to Cascade Christian Church, which is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, right there. But right now I am in Morgantown, West Virginia at college, which is my gratitude is that I got through my first 2 weeks, and it's my last year here, so trying to finish off strong. My grief right now is just the amount of environmental protections that are being repealed. And for my Michigan heart, Lake Ontario is trying to be renamed right now, which is making me kind of sad. So that's where I'm at.
I can go next. My name is Ellie Serwin. I am in Fort Worth, Texas currently. I'm with Westwind Church in Keller, which is about North Fort Worth area, and I spent the summer. Well, I'll talk about that. I'm currently in graduate school. I just finished my first week of my second year, and I'm studying studio art. I'm in my studio right now, actually, which is great. Um, my grief is that they did start bulldozing Big Bend, which is in West Texas, to make way for a lot of terrible things like data centers, and that's going to cause a lot of light pollution. But my gratitude is that there was enough petition to stop it, so they paused it. So that's great news as well. So thank you.
Uh, I guess I'll go next. My name is Nathan de la Fuente. I was a Green Chalice intern at Ridgely Christian Church in Fort Worth. Um, and I guess one of my griefs right now is the West Texas fires have um, destroyed about 80,000 acres of land, and it's still spreading. And the gratitude would be just the time that I'm spending with my friends and family right now.
Hi everyone, my name is Zaimalise. I serve at Casa de Refugio Christian Church in Covina, California, and I'm in my fifth year, my final year of my graduate studies. I'm heading off to internship on September 1st, which is very exciting. Yeah, and then I'll graduate, which is a little surreal to think about because I've been in school for so long, but it's been a really great experience. I would say a grief would be just kind of it's a temporary grief, I guess, but I'm kind of mourning what I once had, not once had, but I had my wisdom tooth removed a week ago, and by the grace of God, I'm doing a lot better. But I can't, eat certain foods and, you know, chew as well as I could. So, it's a form of gratitude as I realize, what I had and sometimes what we take for granted, as people and, things that come naturally to us that sometimes we don't think, other people don't have. So, I'm very grateful that I'm able to recover and swiftly. So I guess that's my gratitude, among other things. But yes, thank you.
Hey, I'm Laura Clark. I am at Foothills Christian Church in Glendale, Arizona. I'm our mission and service coordinator. Sorry, my camera was off and on because my husband wasn't home yet to watch our kids. But I think my grief is just everything that's going on in Nepal. Somebody might have already mentioned that, and sorry if I missed it. But just been kind of trying to keep up with what's going on there. And it's just kind of, a devastating example of what is going on in the climate in our world. Um, Gratitude just on a smaller level personally. Um, Getting back in routine with my kids being back in preschool, and that's been helpful for me to get a little bit of time back, and that's been nice.
Hi, my name
Can you
is,
hear?
oh, sorry. My name is Diane Phelps. I go to Cascade Christian Church. I know Grace, and she grew up in the church there. The reason I joined this meeting tonight, I saw that you were meeting and you're a bunch of like-minded people. I am a master gardener, and I am committed to using a lot of native plants, and I do that around the church property. And been following what Grace has been able to do up at our campsite up in northern Michigan. So that's something I'm grateful for. And personal grief, my husband's going through a cancer diagnosis that is pretty new. So just dealing with that right now.
Hey there, we'll go. My name's Chad Snellgrove. I'm the pastor at White Oak Pond Christian Church, and you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Beckett. I am his son.
And one of our joys is that we're just coming back from being outside in God's creation, playing a little baseball. And so that's something that's been a joy. And what was one of your concerns that you're worried about right now?
People are cutting down more trees to make this paper.
Yeah. So watching our creation be destroyed, and one of our other joys is that we got a chance to have one of our fellows at our church at White Oak Pond this summer, and that was a real joy. So we're gonna listen. We're gonna turn off our cameras, but we're gonna be listening. Okay. Thank you all.
I'm
Can
Gerald
you hear
Marsh.
me? Oh,
I'm Gerald Marcel, new Nate at Ridgely Christian Church as he was doing his work there. I am grateful for my health and what I can continue to do. My concern is about my wife, who has some health issues and other maladies. So I'm dealing with that behind the scenes. I greatly appreciate all of what y'all have worked through this summer, and I'm just here to listen and enjoy what I find out from you.
Am I the last one? I, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's weird with my, okay, it's weird with my car. Obviously I'm in the car. I'm at a stoplight right now, but I can talk and drive. I'm Casey Tangway, the pastor at Westwind Church in Keller, North Fort Worth, where Ellie served this summer. And my grief, and I don't mean this flippantly, is that this program is coming to a close, and that Ellie, I'm excited for her and for her next steps, but we are sad that she is moving on to the next steps. And then we are losing her in that way. And gratitude is that we got to participate in the program, but I also am grateful. Kind of echo of kids getting back to school, getting back into the new rhythms. Band season is almost in full swing, which is fun and chaotic and all those things. And that we are in the process of hiring a new staff member at church, which is very needed and excited. So that's it. And I'm still at a red light. I got it in. Yay.
My name is Scott Hardinieri, and I serve with Green Chalice and Bethany Fellows, Bethany Congregations, and I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, in the western part of North Carolina. And grief for me is just the ongoing intentional decisions to erode not only the environment and some of the legacy things that we've been able to participate in, whether it's the diversity of the land or the diversity of our people. And so that's a deep grief for me, is the intentionality around that and the complacency. And then also my paralyzation of trying to figure out how to respond. Like it's just, there's so many things. Like there's a grief in me to, because sometimes I don't know how to react to all the different things. And then a gratitude is I got to spend time in the forest this morning with my dog, and then also grateful that my two kids are in a transitional moment of getting ready to go, like starting school again in different levels. And so grateful for that experience of continual growth, and really grateful for you all and to be able to hear these stories tonight. I'm lighting a candle to remind us of the presence of God in the midst of this deep suffering and all of the grief that you all named and the many that were not named, either represented in your own life or the in the lives of those that are not here, that are part of this fellowship and part of Green Chalice, and also to celebrate that God is present with us in the midst of the joy and the delight. And we honor both of these things as we come together tonight. Thank you, God. Oh, all right. So we're gonna have, I've been saying we have five. It's just I've just saw my face alongside four other people, and so I was miscounting again. I'm not a huge math person. Um, but we're going to hear from four of the Justice and Creation Fellows this evening. I'm very grateful. And I'm going to just share a little bit about what this is all about. And almost, I think all of you are somehow connected to this, but I'll share it again for those that are going to be watching this on video later on. The Justice and Creation Fellowship Ministry was created about 3 years ago, and it was created because a congregation closed their doors, closed their ministry at Heights Christian Church in Houston, Texas. And that church had been praying for Green Chalice and for Alliance Q regularly. And they donated money to Green Chalice through DHM and about 19 other ministries in our denomination and in Houston locally. Millions of dollars, not to us, but to across this legacy that they're holding. And so I think of it as this sacred composting, like this congregation built a legacy and continues to offer that. I'm just lifting this up because there are now 36 or so fellows that have received from this one church that that closed, and so just want to offer gratitude for Heights. We had 12 ministry fellows this summer that have been serving in camp and conference centers with Be the Neighbor across different ministry sites and in churches. And so we have a real creative way of engaging both by encouraging and accompanying congregations as well as young people. And so we're specifically inviting young people into this, and you all are going to get to hear from them. And we offer congregations $3,000 and $2,500 go to the fellow, and $500 goes towards material costs or administrative costs or whatever the congregation sees its needs are. And our intention is to not only support relationships between and among the communities that the young people are serving, but to grow the capacity and understanding within the young person's life. And we've been hearing whispers of calls to ministry and curiosities about new paths or deepening paths in professional life. And so we're excited to continue to listen uh, to them and with them as they share their experiences. We will have at some point a summary of some of the fruits. We have them individually, but I'll have kind of a collective summary of some of what happened this summer. But we're grateful to have some space to hear stories and see pictures and that sort of thing tonight. I will share this. So we're this is a presentation. It's a slideshow, PowerPoint. You know, one of the least exciting ways of communicating is like with a PowerPoint. And at the same time, this is of what I've been seeing is really exciting. And the way that I'm going to invite us to listen to these four stories are to consider them like a Lectio Divina or like a sacred reading. And so, inviting you all to hear the stories from these four fellows as sacred. And so, at the end of our time, at the end of the four presentations, I'll invite you to respond with a word or some sort of reflection that's brief, not a sermon, but just like some sort of brief response as a way of responding to this prayer that they're offering to us. That's no pressure to you all. You all have done all you need to do as far as the fellows go. Like you don't need to make it extra sacred or anything like that. Like it's good as it is. So we're really grateful. All right. With that, I think we'll just hear from, I think Grace first, right? Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Let me share my screen here. Okay. All right. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Perfect. So, like I said, my name is Grace. And my church, Disciples of Christ, in the Living Waters region, has a camp in northern Michigan in Frankfort, called Camp Crystal or Crystal Conference Center. And that is where I focused my mission this summer, along with my mentor, Michael Dirksen. And yeah, so here we go. So I started off by kind of asking myself what would be beneficial to our camp. And we just recently um, created a conservation easement of 70 acres on the back acres of our camp, which is amazing. That's basically just preserving the land, which is an old growth forest. So no developments can be put on it. It can't be sold in future generations, and it's kind of just like a safety net around the land that it will stay the way that it is for the most part, no permanent structures, whatever. I don't need to go into the details, but that's where I started with it. And our camp already had very little trails on it, and I was like, this would be perfect. So it was a great opportunity to, honor the property, honor God's creation, make it educational, make it engaging with the community. Outside of the camps that we host as Disciples of Christ, other camps will rent out our property as well as people walk on it all the time from the neighborhood, the Cottagers Association, and lots of things like that. So over here you can see some pictures of me with some of the elementary aged kids, walking some of the trails, teaching them things, pressing plants. And then down here you can see this is actually a beech tree, which if you know anything about trees, that's pretty huge for a beech. So just kind of showing the historical growth forest that we have on our property that I wanted to honor and be able to show the people that use these trails. So yeah, like I said, wanted to do some trails. If you look at the map over here, the white lines are roads. The red lines are existing trails, and then the blue lines are the trails that we added over the summer. We aren't fully done yet, but I honestly think that's great that we can extend it into a multiple year program, get different kids and get different people to help out, have some community days. But yeah, so this kind of just shows the scope of the project. It was pretty big. Um, Over here, I'm doing some land surveying work with GIS. The trail on the right over here is what I like to call the learning loop. So this is a flatter, easier trail to walk. It's only about half a mile in total. And on this trail, we added a lot of, or we're adding educational signage. A man from my church who went to camp gets together with his camp buddies, 30, 40 years later. Last year, they helped us by building bat boxes. This year, he's helping us by building these like shadow box type signage that we can use along the trail. So him and his old camp buddies get together every year, and this is what they're doing for us this year, which is awesome. So within those signs, just to really add on to it, on this loop specifically, that's meant for the younger kids, it's educational material about the plants around them, tree ID, history of the land, stuff like that. Things that are interesting to younger kids, and easily digestible, along with different scripture and questions for them to ask themselves and be able to reflect on God's creation and, understanding and respecting where they are in the world. The trail on the left, the loop on the left, actually goes to the highest point of the camp. And the Crystal Commission was proposing to build a viewing tower there. And I was like, awesome, I will build a trail that goes right to the highest point of camp. So once that's built, there will be a viewing tower where you can see the lake that we are on and also Lake Michigan, Sleeping Bear Dunes. It's really a beautiful spot. But this loop is a little bit more difficult. It's definitely longer. Kids can do it still, but it's made for an older generation, middle-aged kids and up from there, as well as we have cross-country teams and mountain biking teams that like to rent out our camp. So I was also keeping them in mind as just a range of difficulty for trails for them to use. That trail also goes through three different kinds of forests. Sorry, I blanked out there. We have a pine forest, an old growth pine stand, a beech forest, and a just general coniferous forest. So lots of education there about how different landforms, glacial movements, things like that. And then again, scriptural things, um, ideas to reflect on, things like that. And then this final little blue one right there, just kind of fully connects the camp together. With that last little blue, you can make a full loop around the entire camp, which is really cool. People that I collaborated on with this would be Grand Traverse Land Conservancy. So they are the people who helped us make this conservation easement. So with that, the trails that I built had very specific rules and regulations that I had to follow to meet sustainable factors. So I worked with them a lot. Here you can see one of their workers walking the proposed trails with me, giving me a few suggestions and just kind of helping me make sure that I build them in the most sustainable way. Down on the lower left here is a surveyor that I worked with. I built all the trails on GIS, and then we together staked them out and to propose them to Grand Traverse Land Conservancy. You can see me pounding some stakes down there, putting in the work, but they also helped provide me with a lot of like topographic mapping. Same with Grand Traverse, boundary lines, all of that. As I said before, Armin from my church is working on sign building with his camp buddies from back in the day, and then also all of the campers that we had. I think we had 5 or 6 camps come through the entire summer, that were Disciples of Christ, our camps, not renters. And every single camp helped me build these trails, which was absolutely beautiful. Um, it's just a great thing. They were also excited that they got to say that they helped build these trails, which was awesome. And then just a little bit about me. I major in environmental soil and water science, and I have a minor in sustainable trail development at West Virginia University. So I really just wanted to share my skills and knowledge with the camp that I was serving. Connection and impact. Um, Again, I just wanted to make something that would be there for generations. It's not like a temporary thing. And it's also intergenerational use, making easier trails, more difficult trails. You can see down here, I think these are, yeah, middle schoolers over here and some high schoolers on the other side working on it. And then those are some elementary age kids. I'm showing them a mushroom and that as we worked along the trails. Yeah, we had over 270 campers aging from, I think our youngest was, not counting the babies, I think 5 or 6. And then we had people in their 60s and 70s helping build these trails, which was just beautiful to see everybody's different skills that they could do. We had our mulchers, we had our diggers. One woman was really into chopping and she had her loppers out there and she got to work on the roots. So it was really cool to see everybody working together, and especially with the middle school, high school age kids, teamwork was really important. And I got to see a lot of them who, never really talked before interact, put in some hard labor together. And we had a lot of great conversations about both faith and God and our place on this earth, along with just being funny and having a really good time listening to some good music. So, presence of God all throughout the entire process for me. Personally, I got to be out in the woods a lot by myself, kind of surveying the land and staking out the trails, all of those kinds of things, which was a great time for me to reflect, and just really appreciate what we have as a camp and from God and all of that. And then again, all those conversations I had with the kids was just beautiful. And I don't know if you can see up here, but the first day that we built the trails, we came back the next morning and there were deer tracks on it, which I just thought was awesome. That, full circle moment for the kids, and you can see them dumping out mulch there, working together. So it was just awesome. And a lot of our kids come from an inner city environment and don't really get to be outside that much. So it was really cool seeing them interact with God's creation. And that's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, it is still a little bit of a work in progress. I don't know how to stop sharing. Sorry. Oop, there we go. Little bit of a work in progress. We got the entire educational trail done, started working on the other ones, and we already have plans on the time to meet up during the fall to work on them a little bit. And then Michigan weather is very unpredictable, but definitely next summer we will still be going at it with the shovels and spreading that mulch. So it's been a great time, and I'm so grateful for this program in general that I've been able to share my skills and ideas with my community and camp.
Thank you so much. Can you either unmute or just reveal a little bit of love and support for this presentation? Woohoo! Thank you so much. All right. Yes, a big burst of hearts. Zai and Melise.
Hi everyone. I'm going to also share a little bit about my work over the summer with you all. Yeah, it's great to be here. Like I said before, my name is Zaimalis Ramos. I attend Casa de Refugio Christian Church, and I'm also which is in Covina, and I'm currently, as I stated, in my final years of my PhD studies in clinical psychology, and I'm just really grateful to be with you all today and kind of just share a little bit about what I've been doing in the summer with my ministry and my work with children. Really, this summer I had the pleasure to do something that's really close to my heart, which is helping children navigate difficult experiences, particularly with natural disasters, in ways that are emotionally responsive, culturally relevant, and just grounded in faith. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you all today. So the idea for this project really came because recognize the need in my own community. There are a lot of children and families in Southern California that have increased stress and anxiety surrounding natural disasters, and a lot of parts in the world as well. But particularly here, we see wildfires, and we recognize and know that there's been a handful of wildfires that happened. There's one that just happened, I believe, a week ago here next to a park that I live, which is, surreal, but it kind of happens in this dry climate. And, a lot of adults have different ways of understanding what's happening, but sometimes children don't always have the words or tools to process what they're feeling. And, at the same time, a lot of Latin American children and their families face a lot of barriers in accessing tools to help process these things, especially mental health resources. And while churches, are an important source of support for families, sometimes we see that there needs to be more tools and guidance for how to support children's emotional well-being during a crisis. And so my work this summer really began developing a children's book and curriculum focused on helping children navigate natural disasters. The project combines several parts of who I am. I'm an illustrator, a graphic designer. I also am one of the leaders in the children's ministry at my church. And, on top of that, I also, as I mentioned before, am a graduate student in clinical psychology. And so I have a huge passion for mental health research and creating culturally responsive resources. So I really wanted to bring all of these things together so that I could find a way to help with this issue. And so I came up with this book that follows a little bird who experiences a very frightening situation. He gets lost in a storm and learns simple skills for managing those big feelings that he has. And one of the central ideas in the story is stop, breathe, and think. And the goal isn't to tell the children, not to be scared, but instead to help them recognize their emotions, to calm their bodies, to think about what they need to do, and also to know and when and how to ask for help. And so in this project, through the summer, I wasn't alone doing this work. I was able to consult with my mentor, Pastor Solis, members of my church, Casa de Refugio, as well as children ministry volunteers. I also had a focus group of participants, some kids who were going to help me provide feedback about the project, and also the Florecer and Crecer team, which means bloom and grow, but they're a nonprofit that I'm creating for work like this. And so, I was also looking at existing resources, which are so important, of other organizations such as the CDC, American Red Cross, Puerto Rico Public Health Trust to really help inform the book and the curriculum. And most importantly, I gathered feedback directly from children, which I also think is really important when it comes to this work. And so I held a focus group at my church with 9 children, And honestly, it was one of the most meaningful parts of the whole experience. It really made all those hours of research and time and drawing really worth it. And as a researcher, I also had them do a little feedback survey, and the children rated an average of the workshop 4 out of 5. So it meant that they really enjoyed and um, found the workshop to be helpful. And not only that, but we saw that the children were really engaged when we were reading the story together, and 8 out of 9 of them really were able to identify emergency safety as something they had learned, and 7 out of 9 reported learning to recognize fear and worry, as well as using stop, breathe, and think. And then 6 out of 9 also reported that they were able to learn how to use skills like breathing to calm their bodies, how to ask for help from an adult, and also understanding that, feelings come and go. And, these numbers are really encouraging because, it reflects that the work that I'm doing is helpful. But I think what was the most meaningful out of all of this was actually seeing the kids interact with the story. They helped read it, they created safety plans, they participated in the activities, they asked questions and shared their ideas. And this just really reminded me of something really important, which is, sometimes the best way to create resources for children is to actually work with them. And that was something that I really learned through this process. And as far as my experience, I was able to experience different moments with God through this process. I think definitely sometimes I felt like I was figuring things out as I went, but I also felt God gave me the wisdom, the creativity, the insight to really move this project forward. And one of the biggest moments for me was watching the children connect with the story, participate, and, seeing their excitement and their engagement really reminded me that this just wasn't a project. For me, it felt like God's calling in my life, which I think is the most rewarding of it all. And just lastly, I'm finishing up, but I hope that I can continue to cultivate this resource, and that it can continue to grow. And my dream is that that I can continue to strengthen the connection between my faith and mental health and community care for specifically for families who may not always have access to traditional mental health resources. And I really hope that I can start to build more partnerships with other churches and community organizations so that we can continue to improve and expand these resources. And, I think for me, ultimately, what I envision is just that our churches can continue to be places where children feel heard, supportive, valued, and safe, even when life becomes scary and difficult. And I think that the summer really just reminded me that, ministry doesn't always have to look like standing in front of a congregation or preaching a sermon. Sometimes just ministry looks like sitting at a table with a child, listening to them, helping them find words for something that they're feeling. And for me, this project was really just a beautiful way to bring together all my different passions, my faith, my love for children, my training, clinical training. And, I'm just grateful for everyone who was supportive here. We had the fellows, Scott, Caroline, just everyone, and my mentor as well. And just, I want to just thank you all for allowing me to share a little bit about what God has been doing with me this summer. And, thank you all for listening.
Woohoo! Thank you. I think Ellie, you're next.
All right, let me share my screen. All right, can you guys see this? Okay.
Yes.
They're all the way over. Okay. Awesome. All right. My name is Ellie Serwin. I was in Fort Worth, Texas this summer with Westwind Community Church, and I'm super excited to share about my experience working with Westwind and with support of Green Chalice. And it was definitely a hard summer with the weather being so hot. There's definitely some struggle here and there. So I really wanted to try to figure out how I can help their community garden and their very large green space that they have at the church. My thing is out of order. Here we go. So they have this beautiful green space behind their church, and I wanted to help them by doing some research on how we can, instead of making it a mowing space where they have to maintain it with the mowers all the time, with how we can replace it with a wildflower garden that sustains itself. Because you guys have seen, like on the side of highways, sometimes there's these beautiful natural wildflower gardens that are maintained by the government. So I was looking into a lot of that and how that could be possible for the green space. We didn't get to break ground on it because it is a larger scale project, but I did do a lot of heavy lifting on the research on where to get started. So we were talking about how we could make a pilot space where we can do soil research, what type of wildflowers would be best for the native area. I gave a list of probably 20 plus that would be best for the space. What kind of water systems would need to be used to maintain it minimally, and how we could sustain it over time and what the timeline would be moving forward to that. So as I said earlier, I am a studio art major concentration in my master's program at TCU. And I wanted to do a very art-centered focus for the summer. And the first thing I saw in their absolutely amazing, beautiful garden was these large cinder block raised flower beds. And so I knew that I wanted to do a fun little mural on them. And so I was thinking about what kind of pops of color would look best with the produce and the flowers in the garden. And so my best friend and I went out on a very hot day and finished it all out. And although we did struggle in the heat, it made me really thankful for just the little things, like our access to cold water and a slight breeze. You know, it really makes you thankful for the little things around you. And it was really fun to be able to experience painting in a different way. In the program that I'm in right now, it's very serious and very focused and very collegiate and professional. And it was nice to like let loose and have fun and be in God's creation all the same. So we had a super fun time doing that. So here's some more photos. We were nice and dirty in the grass and sweaty, and it was amazing. And I have a lot of experience going backpacking and climbing and canoeing. So even just little things like this, being outside and painting a mural with a garden is still connecting with God's creation in smaller or bigger ways is something that I'm really grateful for. So I also was able to do a live painting while my lovely mentor Casey Tangway preached, and it was such a cool experience. I've live painted a few times, but this was very different because it felt even more special because Casey was preaching about trees and its resilience in nature. And so I knew I wanted to do some kind of billowing willow. And it was very intuitive. I had no idea what I was going to paint when I went up there. I knew it was going to be nature related. So it was really fun just to let loose, spray the spray bottle on it and see what kind of things happened and just kind of listen to the messages that God was sending me and what to paint. And so it was super fun. We even had some of the youth come up and make a few strokes on the canvas. It was really cool to help them or make them feel involved and feel like they're a part of the process as well. It was so much fun, and I did include a picture of the final product. It was talking a lot about bearing fruit, and so I wasn't even going to add any fruit, but I added a bunch of little oranges or little apples, and I wanted it to be really loose and colorful and fun. And the church kept this painting, and it will be there forever, which is so special to me. And I'm so thankful to be able to have experienced that. And it was definitely nerve-wracking painting in front of the whole church, but it felt like I was really part of this community, and I felt that like God was like guiding my hand as I was painting it. So it was really special. Um, I also did a really fun watercolor workshop with everybody. We made these little watercolor palettes. You can see these little, they're almost like Altoid tins, and we put these little like separators in them, and we put all this watercolor paint, and we have these little paint brushes that have water on the inside of them, so you can squeeze it and water will come out. So the idea is having this little portable art making device that you can take around wherever you go. And so I did a little workshop with the youth and some of the church members, and it was such a fun time. We painted some trees together, of course, painted some flowers from the garden, and here are some of the outcomes of that. And so it was really cool that everyone got to take home a little takeaway from the workshop, and I got to take one home too, which is really fun. I grew up sketching with my grandmother, and she taught me how to make a little palette like this to take anywhere I went. Because I don't think that painting should be something that just needs to happen or at a studio or at home. I think you can do it wherever you want. So it was really cool to be able to teach that experience of taking painting on the go, and being able to mediate this message from the Lord and message from the land onto a piece of paper, and have that thing that you can carry with you anytime you want. Um, so I wanted to share some things that I learned this summer. I'm really thankful for the experience of being able to teach, because I'm very interested in being a professor of painting and drawing. And so I was getting my teaching reps in. I was working with a community, which I'm super thankful for. And I feel like I've made very meaningful and loving relationships with West Wind, with Casey and her family, and all of the other churchgoers that go there. I mean, I was moving in the midst of the summer, and they offered to help me move, so it really feels like I have an extended family over there. And I have a very strong connection to the land. And I am really thankful that I was able to merge my new passions, my two passions of art and the land, in this really amazing opportunity and fellowship over the summer. And it was helping me build my professional resume too. Like, I was teaching, I got a grant, and I was able to share this love and light with the community. And I'm just really thankful for this opportunity. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Nathan.
Yes. Let me share my screen. Okay. Y'all see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Oops. Oops. Okay. Mine is not as aesthetically pleasing as all of y'all's. But my name is Nathan de la Fuente. I had the privilege of um, serving as the Green Chalice intern at Ridgely Christian Church. Um, and my mentor was Reverend Russ Boyd, and this was in Fort Worth, Texas. Um, before I came, Ridgely Christian Church was had this space, this garden space that was partnered with the Terran Era Food Bank for a while. Um, and it was mainly a space for education regarding gardening and growing food. But in 2024, Terran Food Bank gave that space back to the church, and the church had to find a way to, or find ways to, or I guess what to do with it. And so during that time, they hired two garden managers. And so my role this summer was to essentially assist the garden managers um, in growing food in the transition between the garden becoming an education garden to becoming a garden focused on producing food. Um, this is because the community need at Ridgely Christian Church, the area that it's located, um, it is in the spaces that have the food insecurity rates above the Tarrant County average. And so that's why Ridgely Christian Church moved into food production. And this included, growing local and nutrient-dense food, culturally appropriate to help fight that insecurity. And ways to fight this insecurity was every week we'd donate all the produce to two food pantries, one being West Aid, and then LVT Rise. And so to date, we had donated 1,295 pounds of food to both of these food pantries. And so the ministry response, there's a lot of moving pieces. And so Ridgely Christian Church, in order to emphasize nutrient dense food, we had a composting initiative with or a partner with um, Compost Carpool. And so every week they would come and bring several buckets of organic food waste. But the last few months, this partnership had ended because that program was not sustainable. And so part of my action when I first joined was to try to find new avenues for organic food waste. And so the first few weeks I was, going around local businesses and trying to um, see if these businesses would be willing to partner with us to donate their organic food waste. A lot of times those plans fell through because a lot of these grocery stores would have liability. And so one of my biggest things was trying to find businesses to give us their food waste. Other initiatives, so up here on the right, we have good variety of donations. This one's from July 4th, from figs, peas, peppers, and tomatoes. Below is a photo of one of our volunteer groups. And as you can see the photo, there's quite a few buckets after I had was able to get um, partner with one of the local businesses in the area. And then other things that we did is that a lot of times whenever we donate organic food waste or organic food, um, they won't be shelf stable. And so a lot of times they'll just stay in the food pantry and not get taken, or they're not really um, the food sometimes has defects, and so a lot of times people don't want to take those. And so part of that was um, drying some of the foods or the spices and the herbs. So on the right, we have dried oregano, jalapeno, thyme, and basil. And then one of the biggest collaborators, which was the organic foodways with Richie Country Club. So this is the chef at the country club, and I had reached out to Chef Brent Ruggles, and he was really willing to participate in this initiative. And so it happened really quickly. So I reached out to their communications team and got in contact with Chef pretty quickly. And that first day, he was like, "Yeah, how many buckets can you bring?" I'm like, "Well, I can just bring 5 for now." And so ever since that first week, um, the amount of buckets that we provided them gradually increased each week. And so until I finished my internship there, we were averaging around 20 to 25 5-gallon buckets of organic food waste. And so that was diverting a lot of that food waste from the landfill and straight to composting, which was a major part of our whole operation of providing nutrient dense food to the local food insecurity and for growing food. And of course, this would not have been possible as you saw the previous photo with all the volunteers because it was really a lot of work every week, having to go pick up all the buckets, bringing them back, and then dumping them, cleaning them. So this would not have been possible without all the volunteers, both congregants and non-congregants. Impact and ripples of Ridgely Christian Church. Um, Ridgely Christian Church really emphasized the community aspect. And so every week we had different volunteer groups who were either here to help with the um, garden operations, but we also hosted many like educational classes. And so we would host the American Indian Education, Fort Worth ISD, Be the Neighbor Group from Des Moines, Iowa, Fellowship of the Parks from Bedford, Texas, Arbelon Methodist Church, Stonegate Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, Youth Works, and preservation classes with Fort Worth School Garden educators. So every single week there's always something new. But it was really fun and enjoyable to connect people with our ministry site and our goal of providing the need at our community. So the bottom or the top photo here is oops, our two garden managers, Joey and Anissa, who I worked alongside, and then Ash Petrie from the Fort Worth Report, who had heard about our bee pollinators that we were gifted by Arc Earth, and we received 22,000 bees to help with our pollination in our garden. And so they were doing a report on that. And then below is one of the food preservation classes that we held with Fort Worth School Garden educators. And these were educators within the Fort Worth ISD who hold after school programs for students. And this was part of an initiative to sort of give teachers different opportunities and different things to do with their students after school surrounding garden. And so we learned how to pickle and can items. This was the help of one of our garden friends, Teal Jenkins, who was a food scientist. And she came in, and helped us learn about this. And then I also, Ridgely Christian Church also has solar panels. And so part of my work there was trying to find a energy buyback plan for that. And so that took several weeks trying to talk to several energy companies in the area and work out that deal. But eventually it happened. And then Spirit of God, all moments. Over the summer, I noticed the presence of God in the garden space and all things associated with it. One such aspect is the idea of unity and diversity, which was cultivated in the garden space, from the variety of non-human life to the variety of volunteers and organizations, even local community members taking a stroll through the garden. The first photo is a little water fountain we created for the local bees that we were given from Arc Earth. And so if you can see in the bottom right corner of that photo, there's all the bees congregating in a little shaded area in the water. Below that is another creature, the spineless or the Texas spiny. There was actually several of those throughout the garden. And they just run around, and you'd always just encounter them. And then in the top right is the Fort Worth ISD American Indian Education Program, weighing the cucumbers. So like I said, I mean, every week was always something new, and there's always something going on in the garden. And that's where I saw God throughout my internship. And the beloved community, Ridgely Christian Church will continue to cultivate the beloved community of God through its service and leadership to and with this local community. It will continue to focus on its food production with the help of its new partner, Ridgely Country Club, who provides organic food waste for healthy and nutrient-dense soil. Ridgely Christian Church will also continue to be a ministry site, hosting volunteers and organizations teaching about the importance of the garden operations to help fight the local food insecurity, leading educational garden and cooking classes for students and teachers, and most importantly, educating on the ecological importance of tending to creation. Thank you.
Thank you. So I wonder if you would unmute and share a word or phrase of reaction to what we've heard. We've heard four different uh, incredible ministries this summer. And I wonder if you would just share it, just like a thread of connection or something that stood out for you. But just kind of after hearing all of what you've heard, what is a reaction that you're having, word or phrase to share? You can also put it in the chat if you're feeling more introverted in that way.
I think that I'm struck by the diversity and the way that each student approached this Green Chalice, I guess, opportunity. So I thought that was inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Reading from the chat, community, inspired, partnership, impressive on all accounts.
My first thought was also diversity. They were similar but different, and they all had help from a lot of different people. Um, they look beyond just themselves. Um, a lot of them will have lasting, diverse things happening after they have left and gone on. The one with all the trails, um, there will be ongoing keeping those trails up. With Nate's on the garden, we're continuing to gather compost from the country club and making good compost. And the artwork um, was was wonderful. Um, we have some artwork at our garden already, and I read it quite often when I'm there. But she had a new, fresh look on it, so something to take back to my gardener buddies. So, and the one about the kids and being scared of natural disasters, my thought to her is to go beyond our congregation's name to other congregations to get that out there, because all children do not need to live in fear. They need a way to cope with it. They were all great. Thanks.
Others, word or phrase, response. Sacred weaving together of unique passions, gifts, skills, and creation care and justice. Awe-inspiring. Well, you will have an opportunity to see these slide presentations on the Green Chalice website and share your stories ongoing. I know that our fellows have work to do still this week in their own context, wherever they are in school, and so we want to make sure that they have plenty of space tonight to get back to that. But I'm just so grateful for you all that are the sacred listeners and the hearers of this. And many of you are not just sacred listeners, but you've participated in your ministry site to serve and accompany young people in your churches. So thank you for all that you did, and then also just a deep gratitude for our fellows who put in the summer this creativity, the power of positivity right now. It's so important, and for the ways that they worked to tell their story, not only visually through this for the slide presentation, but to be here live with you to share their experiences and the impacts that they've made in their communities. Just really, really grateful. Would you pray with me as we close our time? Oh, actually, if the fellows have any last words, you get the last word. So the rest of us kind of like reflected a little bit of love your way. But if you have any last words to share with us about your experience or about tonight, feel free, and then I'll just close us with a brief prayer.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you so much to everybody that came and listened. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for listening and hearing and seeing our experiences.
Mhm.
I would just like to second everything Grace said.
It's been an honor reading from the chat.
I'm just very grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you. Would you pray with me? Creator God, uh, God of amazing stories of liberation and healing and creativity and colorful expression, for nourishment and beauty, we give great thanks for these stories of adventure, of hard work, of lots of sweating, and for accompaniment, not only of the young people and adults that are in this Zoom call, but children and adults in the communities represented. We're thankful, and we ask that you will continue to accompany us to seek light and grace in all that we do. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thanks, y'all. Take care. Blessings.